Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the channel. Dude, this is like my fifth time trying to record this video. I'm not going to redo it no matter what. I think it's because I'm trying to cover something other than AMC. It's like a curse. I can't do videos about other assets potentially. But I just wanted to talk about Tesla's move today. And how it's kind of like, I don't know, man, like timing is odd, right? So the news that came out for Tesla is and I can bring it up here. This is from Business Insider. Sorry about the brightness, but Elon said in an interview that he has sold enough Tesla to meet his 10% goal after selling another $550 million in shares. Obviously, you can see it's December 22nd. Obviously, this press release comes out at 5 a.m., which may or may not be, I don't know. But I just think that it's an interesting thing, right? I've talked about briefly on Twitter before how, I see the larger scale Tesla move as a Wyckoff distribution. And within the distribution, you're going to have these accumulations, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But I think that overall, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Elon started this I'm going to sell my stock thing at a very, very good time. It started right around here. I mean, he pretty much sold the top, and caused this big sell-off. Now, if I was to count this as a distribution, and we're going to talk about how odd the timing is on this article coming out, but what I would say is you probably have your primary supply here, right? Which is basically, the idea is that institutions are marking up the price from an accumulation phase, driving the price upward to test supply, and then they bring the price back down before causing a buying climax, which is normally an exhaustive event. Basically, they are testing the limits of the price. They're driving the price up here, causing another price spike, and then they are letting retail trade against each other to create these tops. And then, ironically, this is kind of when the Elon thing happened. So yeah, and I mean, I'm actually gaining more perspective on this shorter term one. So I think that this is an automatic reaction to that buying climax, and then probably a sign of weakness. Now, if you're not familiar with Wyckoff, I definitely think that you should go check that out. Look into Wyckoff theory. Look into Wyckoff distribution if you don't know at all what I'm talking about here. And I think what you might be going into here, it's possible that you're going into, you had another sign of weakness here on the stock. And this sign of weakness kind of turns into a shorter term accumulation. And if we zoom in, we'll be able to see that a little bit clearer. Right? So this is almost like a spring phase that occurred here. Now, let's talk about why the timing is weird, right? Because that's what I opened the video with. And then we can talk about where I think that the stock is going. And we're going to draw some trend lines too. But the timing of this article is just, I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of, I feel like if you draw a Fibonacci retracement from the bottom of this move here to the top and you drag it over, you can see here that the 0.885 Fibonacci actually held as perfect support here. I mean, I didn't like like the 0.885 is something that I use, not a lot of other people use. Jin Colado showed it to me originally, so shout out to him. But you can see here that you get a pretty strong bounce here. Let's look at other jump off points for the stock price, right? Like, let's look at a daily chart, see some other key points, right? If you come back here, this is obviously the start of a new uptrend. You can see here this retracement lands right in the golden pocket. You start here from this uptrend. This retracement is a perfect 0.5 Fibonacci ratio bounce. So I guess at the point that I'm making here, again, this is the daily chart, is that although news comes out and it seems fundamental, you can see here it's a 382 Fib retracement. It seems like it's a fundamental thing that drives the price up. And I even saw Sam at Smarter Trader on Twitter. He's an excellent trader, by the way. But he's like a narrative based, event based trader. So he trades these fundamentals, right? Um, it's a. He said today in a tweet that everybody's trying to chart Tesla, but you can't chart Elon. Basically he's trying to say, um, that Elon and his narratives are an anomaly, right? Like he controls a narrative. A chart can't do anything about what Elon's going to do. I tend to disagree. I think that for the most part, I think Elon actually plays into the charts. I think that there's a coordinated effort somewhat. Like I'm not saying that he is particularly like working with anybody. Like I'm not alleging that it's like insider trading or anything, but I there's a certain level of understanding with Elon and timing. He has a really good way with timing his messaging. So let's talk about the longer term, right? You also have a bounce off of this uptrend, which is nice. But I think that eventually Tesla is gonna have difficulty eventually, because I think what you're creating here, and sorry, let's see, draw this perfectly. I think that what you're ending up here with is a rising wedge of kinds, especially if you go on higher time frames, you can really see it a little bit more clearly. So you go to the weekly chart. And what's really crazy about these trend lines is that they actually have relevance a lot longer. You can see that this zone has kind of held as support, and you see that it acted as resistance here and resistance here. This is not an this isn't even a new trend. This trend is something that's been started since well, really, it was a resistance trend all the way back in 2018. It held as temporary support before that, getting knocked down, going into this accumulation range, and then getting this move up, and then eventually you break it, and that's when things start to go to crazy town. Let's look at this resistance trend and extend the lines. You can see here, right? This was the previous like overhype top for Tesla, March 14th. March of 2014. I'm sorry. So these trends are definitely serious, right? And again, look at this relative bounce, right? You have a few times where you've broken below, but you always kind of find this back, and especially the candles on the weekly basis have found this back as support, and you get this perfect bounce right off of here. What you have here, guys, is a long-term macro rising wedge from 2020. And it has validated resistance from 2014. Okay, this is a 3-touch resistance line. So what does this mean, right? What am I getting at? Well, on the longer term basis, I think that what ends up happening is you have a primary supply here, okay, very high volume, right? Institutions push the price down for this. Well, this is COVID right here, so whatever you want to think about that, I guess. And then you have this sort of buying climax event here, an automatic reaction. I'd say that this is like a sell test, and then up here is like an up thrust. I mean, this is clearly weakening volume. The volume is not nearly as impressive on this move here, okay? Then you go into the shorter term accumulation. This is kind of like a sign of weakness area in the macro distribution, I believe. And then what's happening now, I believe, is a UTAD test, which is up thrust after distribution, okay? So you can see that this is a very low volume push. This is even lower than the up thrust here, okay? And what this means is I think over the course of the next year or so, you could see Tesla, and look, I think short term, going into like the next 3 to 6 months, you're probably going to see some good upwards price action like this. And then this is going to be like, you're going to get into this kind of top zone where probably like this $1,500, $1,600 range. I can do a Fibonacci extension to measure. Maybe even you bounce back up, you come back up. And eventually you're going to see that this is going to play out as a macro distribution. And I mean, I know that this seems aggressive, and probably what we would have to do is draw like we would okay, so let's do that. Let's show you how we would come up with these sorts of targets, because I think Tesla, there is a certain longevity play that comes with Tesla. Yeah, see, this is too optimistic, because it's not gonna go to this 2618. It just isn't. If it okay, so the only way that it would do this is if it literally broke this rising wedge. It would have to do this with a lot of volume. This is a bearish reversal pattern. To me, this is very clearly distribution. So this would be an anomaly, right? This would be an anomalous event, which is totally possible for a stock like Tesla, right? The narrative is very strong surrounding Tesla. Retail loves Tesla, and I think that's kind of why it's in distribution, because retail loves Tesla, so they know that they can sell it for more expensive. But nonetheless, you could see that sort of anomalous event play out. I think it's unlikely, though. I think that we probably need to draw our fib extension from a more reasonable place. Maybe we go from the all-time bottom to this local top and then back to this bottom. So yeah, I mean, this could be this. I could see this sort of thing playing out where it goes to the equivalent of like 3,500. I don't know, man. That seems optimistic as well. Let's see. I've never done this on this this stock. So, well, let's just do the local. Let's do the local. See what this local move could do. That's probably the best thing. So grab this local bottom to the top here and then down, and let's just assume that this is our Fibonacci bottom that we grabbed. Yeah, there you go. See, that's what I'm talking about. That 786 or this 618 right here extension. This is the sort of thing that you're gonna see, in my opinion. And you can see here that these Fibonacci's, they line up pretty well with this kind of path that I drew. And then what we would expect, this would be a macro distribution. So maybe we would grab our retracement from the macro, and let's assume that this is the high. So you could see this sort of thing here, yeah, this would be an economic event if this happened. If Tesla went all the way up to 1600, whatever we said, 1650, and then it came back down to 650, this would be a very big event. And I think that probably in the long term, you would see Tesla revert back and start a new uptrend at this point. And perhaps what you would have is like a new bull trend that's a little less optimistic, right? That occurs here. So maybe it would be from here. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's just draw that. So this is just an example. I just wanted to make this video as an example of like how to do like how I do, not how to do, because this is just what I do. Everybody's different, but how I look at a chart from a more long-term basis to try and understand what's actually going on, right? Because again, you see these articles, right? You see this news come out. I don't know, I might have exited out, but you see the news come out that Elon says, "Oh, I'm done selling my stock," or whatever, right? And that's obviously bullish news, but to me, it's I just can't help but wonder if there's some sort of technical, basis for his, like why now? Why did he choose to do that now? I just find it interesting. It's an interesting concept. And we've talked about Elon's relationship with Bitcoin and how in Bitcoin beginning of this year, he drove the narrative for the upside of a distribution and then the narrative for the downside of a distribution. I'll make another video that's kind of like a permanent video about that. But yeah, Elon has a weird relationship with the market. Again, this isn't guaranteed, and something could happen, right? That causes a break above this rising wedge. Rising wedges play out bearishly about I think it's like 60% of the time. So it's not a pattern that's like 100% certain bearish, but over the course of a longer term period, when you start to see this weakening of upside swings, it is a pretty good signal that you're gonna see some reverse price action, so that then you can establish more support at lower levels before you can generate another move up. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to with Tesla. That's how I see Tesla in the long term. And again, I mean, this point that I have on the chart. Obviously, this isn't trying to predict the time and place and the exact price. Did we do a fib retracement on this? Oh yeah, we did, huh? Yep. Let's see if it aligns with any others. Sure it will. Draw from the bottom. Yeah, so that's a 0.5. And then if we localize it from here, yeah, this is the real feeling that people would have. It would have this 786, 885. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense that that you would have this sort of move. So and look, it's gonna be fueled by news. People aren't gonna the news isn't gonna say, hey, David on YouTube made this chart a while back and used Fibonacci. They're not gonna talk about Fibonacci or Wyckoff theory or anything like that. They're gonna say, oh, whatever. The new Tesla came out and the sales were setting records and whatever. And then at the top, all of a sudden, there's going to be some sort of narrative of, and again, it's not going to look straight down like this. It's going to be more like, oh, we're going back up. Oh, no. We're going back up. Right? So it's going to be that sort of thing. But the news is going to be like, Elon, I don't know. He smokes weed on another podcast or something. I'm just kidding, but there's always some sort of narrative. Actually, I should go back and find that date on this chart and see if there was some technical justification. How long is this video so far? 17 minutes. Okay. What do you guys say? Well, I can't hear you, so let's look it up because I know that Elon smokes weed on Rogan. I know that the stock did have, it did go down after that event. So that was September 7th, 2018 is what I have, the CNBC article. So let's go find that date. And I'm just going to analyze that chart very briefly just to, oh man, I can see it already. That okay, September, what did I say? September 7th, 2018. Let's see. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is interesting. Let's see. Oh, look, it's this local bottom. Whoa, what time did it come out that day? This article. 9:21 a.m. Eastern. Let's go. Oh man, now the video might get a little bit longer than it should. Oh my goodness, it's like a perfect like doji reversal. What the look at this. 0.885 Fibonacci. Let's see if there's a more macro 618, dude. Oh, dude. Oh, look, it bounced right in this 0.5 for this. If you guys aren't familiar with Fibonacci retracements, definitely familiarize yourself. I think that Fibonacci is one of the most powerful tools. Oh wait, hold on, where is it? Oh no, I lost it. September 7th. No, that was it. Yeah, I had it. Yeah, let's see if it. Oh, look, it pushed down, probably on the bad news, quote unquote bad news, and then it tried to close back above, and then it stopped, but then it gapped up the next day. Wow. And then what is this? I mean, this is definitely a distribution. Let's see. This era is definitely a distribution, short term at least, for Tesla. Oh man, very boxy distribution. This is like a perfect trading zone. Let's see. Yeah, this is like the upthrust in phase B kind of signs of weakness here. Yeah, I mean, you can see the same kind of range bound, keep you in the fight, keep you excited, and then boom, big sell off into 2019 here. So where is September? Yeah, so this was a sign of weakness, actually, is what it caused, right? Because that's the boat. Is that the bottom in there? It sure is. Yeah. So this was actually a sign of weakness. So this is really interesting. Let me pull up the schematic so you guys know what I'm talking about. If you're, because I know I have the schematics like memorized in my head, but even if you've been paying attention to the channel, it can get confusing. I still have to refer to them sometimes, but you can see. Let's see. And these schematics, they don't have to always play out like exactly like this, but how I would see this is this was like a buying climax right here. Let me try and localize this because it's kind of easy. This would be like your primary supply where you kind of are breaking into this new trading range right here. An automatic reaction. This is your phase B sign of weakness. I'm glad that I kind of let this video run. I see this as like a UTAD almost, like a. Let's see, what's the volume doing here? The volume's kind of strong. Wow, interesting. This is like an upthrust in phase B, which you kind of have an upthrust in phase B in the other schematic as well. That's why I say it's important that you use. See how this is an upthrust UT, and you have this upthrust. It can be confusing because people will look at these schematics and expect it to play out exactly, and sometimes it does. Sometimes it does play out pretty exactly. It's kind of weird. I can show you the Bitcoin chart, but and then you have this secondary sign of weakness where you break below the trading range right here. It's like a phase C or a phase D maybe sign of weakness. Where you break below, you come back up. This is your last point of supply. Okay, so basically, the market operator has decided that obviously they're ready to start marking the stock down because they've exhausted their supply now. And then they basically cause more selling than they are causing buying. But they're keeping retail in the game, like, oh, we're gonna go up eventually, before they eventually just mark the price down, and you see this mark down here, and then this kind of reverts right into a shorter term accumulation phase. So that September 7th move was it was like a creating a sign of weakness in the larger distribution schematic, and this distribution schematic played out from April of 2017 and ended in April of 2019. That's not even like, that sounds crazy for me to say. Somebody's probably watching, and I mean, you can see this is. I mean, just look at it. Just look at where it eventually found its support. Right, this literally looks like the picture that's on the right. I mean, you end up right where you started off. Wow. Interesting stuff. I'm glad that we dug through here. But yeah, so basically overall, I'd say that like in 2022, I think the first half of 2022, you have good reason, and you could be bullish all the way to the end of 2022. Look, I mean, you could ride all the way up in this wedge. I don't think that you necessarily have to. I think that for the first half of 2022, you can be I'm going to be relatively bullish on Tesla, but I'm definitely going to be looking for those signs of weakness. I'm definitely going to be looking for less and less effort from buying institutions, as they're offloading their supply in order to find a new demand zone long term. And it'll probably be, I'd say it'll probably be somewhere. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for it to be somewhere down here. I mean, unless it finds support on this, probably this longer term bull trend is probably where it's going to end up finding its support. That's what I'd say. Let's see if that's what happened back here. Oh man, this video is way longer than I thought it was going to be. 25 minutes. Sorry. Hopefully you're gaining something from this and you don't feel like you're just wasting your time. Let's see. you have a little bit more trading action when you look at it from here. Yeah, so maybe you say something like this. Let's see. Yeah, I mean you have boom, boom, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times that it was found to support here between 2010 and 2012. You come back down, you break below this line before eventually finding it as long-term support, and then you get your move up. Yep. Yeah, and so that's what you're gonna see, right? Is that you're gonna see this sort of it just reestablishes a new trend essentially. So actually, you can make the case that in reality you're actually ending up more bullish with Tesla here, right? The trend is actually more steep. Now, if things got really bearish for Tesla, then what you would do is you would say, okay, well, how does it align with that previous bull trend? Right? We're assuming that that this is gonna be our peak, right around $1,650. I can't predict the future, so obviously, like, come on. But this is the all-time Fibonacci. We're assuming that, and then you would look for maybe some correlation between this trend and this Fibonacci. Yeah, and then that would bring Tesla to like 150. So that would be like, I would say that if Tesla just went super bearish, the story that you would see would be something very. I would assume that it would have to be something like perhaps with Elon not even being CEO or something. But you have to remember that this $150, whenever they split their stock, I think this isn't very far off from what Tesla was trading at the last time that they split their stock, right? So let's go look that up. Oh man, I keep on going into further and further detail, don't I? I know I'm bouncing all over the place. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you're enjoying this. Tesla stock split. Let's see. Historic stock splits for Tesla. Doesn't really work as split. You're just gonna have to trust me, bro. Okay, a 5-to-1, August of 2020. August 2020. Boom. What was this? 275. So yeah, I mean, so the stock's price equivalent was 275 back here. You see down here, this is the bottom of this like local distribution as I see it. Right. Where was it? 275 right here. Yeah, I mean that's going to be this is probably where you're going to end, and like this would be like the absolute bottom. I don't think that you see that. I think it's more likely that you see this sort of 500. But again, this isn't very far off from what Tesla was worth back here. So that's pretty interesting to see. I think you're definitely going to hold this green trend though. That because this is the COVID collapse right here. So yeah, that's probably my conviction. I'd say that to revisit this white line would be cataclysmic. I don't even know. Like Elon would just like leave the company or something. I mean, which is totally possible. It happened to Steve Jobs, didn't it? Yeah, and then yeah, again, it's not this straight line down, but you see this kind of working its way down, boom, and maybe it ends up here at this like $700 or something like that. But you can get pretty overheated here in the relative short term. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. I thought this was interesting, something interesting to cover for the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed. But yeah, like I said, man, like this move, I know that it was like, oh, Elon says that he's gonna stop selling his stock or whatever, but just remember that just remember at the beginning of the video, you can obviously not financial advice, but this This sort of thing here, you go to a weekly chart, you pull a Fibonacci like this, and you see a certain level, you're going to see somewhat of a reaction. You can see here that whenever it came down to this 236, right? Boom, boom, boom. Like it did not want to break it. And once it broke below it, boom, it got sent straight back down to the 382. And then we can do this example again, right? Boom, breaks below the 236 and boom. Nope, it doesn't want to stay below there, right? You grab, and you can get more detailed when you zoom in with it like this, right? Let's go to maybe the 4 hour. Right, you grab that bottom. Grab that Dave. Get all this noise off the chart, sorry. Yeah, you can see, look, I mean, right? You grab this bottom, grab the top. Boom, perfect bounce off of the 0.5. Breaks right through the 0.382, gets rejected at the 236, back down to the 0.5, back up. You see it fumbles around here at the 236, goes straight back up, comes back down to the 236, turns around. Boom, boom, 0.5, boom. Now it's at this 707, 618 Fibonacci. So, dude, you can draw the Fibonacci so many different ways. And you're going to find key levels from every bottom and every top. You look, you see this? Perfect 618 retracement if you measure it from this $719 bottom. So look, there are opportunities when it comes to this, and throughout the process, right? Like throughout this entire trading range, the more and more you zoom in, the more and more Fibonacci you'll be able to find relevant levels. You can even go down to the minute chart if you want. This is how confident I am in it. You can literally just grab this bottom, come up here, boom, and you'll find this 382 perfect support, right? And you can't predict which exact one is going to hold a support. You got to watch other indicators like volume. You got to look for patterns. Maybe look at your RSI, et cetera, et cetera. But you can you can make a pretty good conclusion that around these Fibonacci zones, you're going to see support and resistance, So hopefully that was a good lesson. Hopefully you found this video interesting. 32 minutes, holy cow, I was not expecting it to go this long. I'm going to go make another video. Until next time, bye.